What's going on, guys? Welcome to another amazing high quality production of Alex Isidro. And today, before we go any further, if you are new to the channel, I welcome you. And if you are interested in life growth as well as engineering career tips and growth, consider subscribing. Of course, if you enjoy the content and if you find it useful, valuable. So with that being said, today I want to talk to you about whether or not your college name matters in engineering. Now, there is a question that I got from a friend, Thomas. I believe he's out in Texas, and he said that he's an undergrad in UT Arlington, majoring in aerospace engineering. Wow, aerospace is rough, man. I really wanted to do aerospace engineering at some point during my engineering journey when I was doing mechanical engineering. And anyway, so he is wondering how much your university name matters in the long run. In the long run, key direction right there. And he says that he feels sometimes he's looked down upon because he doesn't go to a more prestigious university in engineering like UT Austin and Texas A&M. He'd like to know if he stays at UT Arlington for his master's. What do I think about transferring to a more prestigious college? Would it be beneficial? Okay, thank you for your question, Thomas. So this is one of those. I figure I answered this question in a video because I think that it can help out a lot of people, and my perspective can be something that you could consider when it comes to going to university or college, because I think that one of the biggest, perhaps not that you know at the time, but sometimes people strive to go to those big name schools at all costs, and even if they can afford it, and unless you are extremely smart and you can get a scholarship, if you're gonna go into debt because you want to go to those schools, oh man, beware. Beware of those situations. But okay, so before we get any further into this topic, the first thing I want to mention is imagine that you are a recruiter for your company. You own a company, an engineering firm, and you have the ability to go out and get talent. You become a headhunter and you say, okay, now I need to go to schools and find some people. What schools would you go to? What schools would come to mind when it comes to getting the best talent out there? Like, would you go to a prestigious school that is known for engineering? What do you think about the kids that go there to that school? Another question that I want to ask you is, do you think they can provide something of value to your company and your projects and your goals? Do you think they're overrated? And if they're overrated, why? And the reason I'm going to ask you these questions is because if you think that you're going to go to these schools to get the talent, that means you just answered the question for our friend Tom, which means that the name of the school does matter, right? At least in the beginning, for sure. That's something that I learned when I was younger, and I think that it matters overall. When you're just getting a job, when you're just getting your name out there before you have an experience, the name of your school is going to have a heavy weight on your resume. There are some fields that some schools are generally known for, and it's in those situations that it's good to take advantage of those specialties for those schools. Not all schools are experts at everything. For grad school, I want to say that it also matters, your school name matters, but once you get out and look for a job with a master's degree, your undergrad school name doesn't really matter that much. So let's say I went to Virginia Tech for undergrad and I go to MIT for my grad school, then my Virginia Tech degree wouldn't really matter that much. Because my last degree is the one that has the most weight per se. So why am I saying all this, man? Saying this because, a lot of times also employers look for skills that individuals have. more than where they went to school. Now, I was doing some research to answer this question, and there have been studies that prove both. There have been studies that prove that your school name does matter, that your school name does have an effect on your earning potential, on your job prospects, and there's a couple other things that I'll go over in a minute. But there've also been studies that show that sometimes employers are more concerned with the skills that you bring to the table as opposed to the name of the school that you went to. So there's a couple of things what I want to mention here. So why does the name of the school matter? So there's a couple of things. Number one, networking. And these are not in order of priority or importance. So number one, the networking that you do when you go to a prestigious school, a lot of times you go there with other people. It was hard to get into. So the people that you're going to be networking with are going to be very, very smart, just like you are. For example, Harvard, I think they have a 5.2% acceptance rate. That means if 100,000 people apply, only 5,200 students get in. Now, for Virginia Tech, which is where I went to school, the acceptance rate is approximately 60%. So that says a lot right there. Of course, we're comparing an Ivy League to a state school. So anyway, that was fun. And also, the acceptance rate is very low when you go to a big name school. Or it may not be that low. I'm comparing it. I'm having Harvard or Ivy League schools in my mind, but it can be any school. If it's a prestigious school with a big name, perhaps the acceptance rate is lower than usual. Also, large engineering companies go to these big schools and prestigious ones. They go there and recruit for obvious reasons because they can potentially hire higher quality students. Also, another reason is the quality of the professors. Not all the time, but it's something to consider. Like the quality of the professors that go to prestigious schools. Perhaps they have more experience, or they're who knows. But generally speaking, of course, there's professors nowadays are kind of, a lot of them just read off the slides, and a lot of them are busy doing research, and they just kind of like let their TAs do their work, their dirty work. But generally speaking, I want to say that the quality of the professors is also a bit higher when you go to these prestigious big name schools. As a rule of thumb, I want to say, from my perspective. And also, you could have access to influential people, again, depending on your network, and also they could be a little, they're pricey, but I don't think that's an advantage. That's more of a disadvantage in my opinion. And sometimes these schools, as I mentioned earlier, they do affect your salary and your earning potential. Now, what happens if you don't go to a big name school? Like, what are the advantages? So for sure, smaller classes, that's definitely something that I think it's very, very beneficial. You get more time with professors. Perhaps you can build better relationships. Smaller classes, you need more attention to students, obviously. And I want to mention that also that sometimes the same professors that teach at big name schools also teach at smaller schools. And I want to mention here, if there was one time I had this really, really good professor when I was at Virginia Tech, and he was probably one of the best professors that I ever had. And then after I graduated a couple years later, I realized that he had moved to schools. He actually went to teach to a much smaller school, and that's just because he just really liked it. He really enjoyed teaching, and he didn't want to deal with, I'm guessing, this is my guess, with a lot of bureaucracy or shit that goes on in big name schools. Anyway, smaller schools, schools that don't have big names could also be cheaper, and the professors could be more accessible, like as I mentioned. It also could be that there is less competition when it comes to career fairs or job fairs, but at the same time, you may not get the same amount or number of companies that come and recruit at your school. And I want to mention here, like, engineering is engineering, man. Engineering is a prestigious career. It's a very commendable profession, I want to say. And engineering principles and physics principles, like they don't change, from school to school. So regardless of where you go study engineering, I think it's going to be very difficult. And the only time you're gonna be looked down upon when it's just by kids that are your age. I mean, I've personally worked with people that went to MIT. I went to my old roommate went to Cornell, also as an engineer. I run into people that go to Harvard, and here in the Washington D.C. area, it's not that uncommon to run into people that went to Ivy League schools or like really good engineering schools. And I want to say, I mean, they're not any different than you and me, man. It's just like regular people that went to all these schools, but and a lot of times we're doing the same work. So, and I went to Virginia Tech, which is a pretty decent engineering school. So the reason I'm saying this is because, like, don't be discouraged just because you can't attend a big name school or one of those prestigious and quote names. You shouldn't feel bad again. And the only time you're gonna be looked down upon is by just punks that are your age and just trying to troll you and just kind of make you feel less. But it doesn't make any sense, man. Those people haven't beat anybody and they haven't really accomplished anything in life, So just keep doing your thing. All right. So with all that being said, let's now, with all the background, answer the question. Like, so when you do your master's degree, at that point, there's a couple of things that come into play. I personally wouldn't move schools. If I would only move schools if my current school, UT Arlington, you say where you're going. If UT Arlington doesn't have what you want in terms of expertise and the experience that you want to gain in your master's degree, if they don't have it there, then there's probably a clue to go somewhere else. And if you're gonna go somewhere else, then might as well go somewhere that perhaps has a higher reach when it comes to job prospects down the road, or more prestigious, as you call it. If you are also eligible for funding, if somebody else is going to be paying for your research as a grad student, whether if you find research at UT Arlington and you get funding there, and that means that you can obviously do your work, but at the same time funding for your school. If you can get a free school, a free education, then there's no reason I would move anywhere else because I already have free education. To me, that's the driving factor, getting a free education, a free master's degree. If you can get that at UT Arlington, there's no reason to talk about this anymore. Now, if you can get the same, if you can get funding and you can get a free education at UT Austin or Texas A&M, then why not? Why not? Now, there may be other costs hidden behind it, but for moving and staying out there. But if you think, now then it really becomes up to you. If you think that the benefit is going to be higher or bigger down the road, then that's something that you should consider. Why not? I would take it into account. The other thing, it's maybe not as important. Also, like what kind of companies go and recruit at those schools. A lot of times some companies go to the big names only. They don't go to other smaller schools. But their application process is still open online, and there is no reason why you can or you shouldn't apply to those companies. And so that's my perspective. And again, the biggest driving factor, in my opinion, is the money. If you are getting funding for your master's degree and you are going to get a free education somehow, whether it is through being a research assistant or a teacher's assistant, or if you may even be able to get a stipend in one of these scenarios. So take those situations into account. And the bottom line is don't mind those people that look down upon you. It doesn't make any sense, man. I work with people that go to big name schools, people that went to schools I've never even heard of, and they're all working for the same company, doing almost the same work. So that goes to show that if you are a competitive person, if you are someone who proves to be reliable, if you are someone who is willing to learn, who's willing to adapt, and you are someone that shows that you are disciplined. I think that's what the GPA also says about you. If you're someone that has a relatively high GPA, then, and it doesn't have to be a 4 out of a 4.0 scale. It can be like a 3.5. I graduated with a 3.2, and I was fine. I'm not saying that you'll be fine with the 3.2, but keep it as high as you can. Let me leave it at that. So don't be discouraged. be grateful that you're having an education, you're getting one for yourself, do your best. And again, if you are talented and competitive, and you show that you can put in the work, you can adapt, you can learn, and you have good skills and good expertise and good experience to bring to the table, then I have no doubt that you are going to kill it as an engineer, my friend. All right, so with all that being said, I think this video was a lot longer than it needed to be, but I wanted to get some thoughts out, and I think that someone at some point is going to find this video beneficial. So if that's you, then hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you are interested, again, in engineering career growth, life growth, tips, and things that have helped me grow as a man, grow as a professional. And with that being said, I'll see you guys on the next video. Let me know how you like this mic. It's a mic that I bought, and it makes me feel, I don't know, it makes me feel legit. Like, it just makes me feel like that much more serious when it comes to the YouTube game, you know. But it's a sweet mic, man. I like the audio. I'm still playing around with the software and see how we can improve it. And all right, so enough talk, man. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.